Breyer's Music Showcase is brought to you by the people over at Patreon. Pledge today and get access to exclusive perks. Link in the description. If you're a fan of music and you love physical media, where do you get it from? To most people, it's the usual suspects. You have Amazon, you have eBay, you have Discogs, but there is one website I feel doesn't get talked about that much, and that website is Bandcamp. Now, I've heard of Bandcamp for quite some time, and I've always been fascinated by it, so just recently I went out and bought some CDs from the website, and I'm going to be talking about my overall experience of the place and see if it's still worth checking out in 2025. So if you have used Bandcamp before, then please give this video a like, subscribe if you are new, and let's just jump right into it. For those of you who have not even heard of Bandcamp, I'll try to make it brief, but basically it's a music distributing website where a bunch of independent musicians, whether bands or solo projects, can put their music on, and it's just easy for fans to buy the music, and theoretically most of the profits go to the musicians themselves. And in terms of genres, just like in real life, it's endless. You just go to the website and you just kind of search up like what's your favorite style, and the website will have suggestions on what kind of would fit in your interest. Now, of course, for me, I like to pick up CDs, but I'm sure a lot of bands and solo projects, they also will include like a vinyl copy, sometimes even a cassette copy. And if you're not interested in physical media, then there's at least a download that you can buy. So the site can support many formats. For this kind of haul, I guess, I've had these CDs for quite a bit. I kind of went for that indie rock, a bit of indie pop vein, and I got these four. And I'm going to quickly just showcase them, and I've talked about them before briefly in other videos, and some of these were just based on word of mouth. So the first one I picked up is from a band called Tallies, and I believe this is their only album. And this came out not that long ago, 2019 it says on the back here. And I will say majority of the CDs that I picked up all come in like these digipacks, aside from one, which I'll get to in a bit. But Tallies is kind of a nice example of kind of the type of music that's mainly in this batch here, where it's kind of in that indie rock, indie pop feel, and it has this kind of dreamlike quality, which I actually really dug. And I really like the vocals to it. It's very breezy, kind of fits the mood that they're setting, and overall it was a very enjoyable album, and yeah, it was excellent. And let me just quickly open it up. You get the disc, of course. Overall, it's just a very simple packaging, which makes sense because obviously jewel cases are a lot more expensive these days. So obviously the digipack format is going to be very prevalent here, but still, it's very well done. And I really thought this was very good. And then the next one I picked up is from a band, and this band kind of gets brought up every once in a while, and I went with Rat Boys, and this album is called The Window. And this is probably the biggest outlier in this batch, is because not only does it have a bit of an indie rock sound, but there's even a tad bit of a country rock edge to it, which I found interesting. And I really liked it. Again, it's in the digipack format, and not as complex as like the triple fold on this one. It's more your simple like just open up sort of thing, but the production's really good. Again, the vocals were nice, the rest of the band fit the mood, and I definitely want to check out more of their other stuff because I think this one's a bit more recent, and I think their older stuff definitely doesn't have as much country, which the country is not bad, but I'm not the hugest country fan, I will say, but still I think they make it work to an extent. So very strong. And this next one I'm going to show is kind of interesting because it's not American like pretty much everything else I'm going to show. This band actually comes from Singapore, and the band is called Sobs, and this is their album Air Guitar. And this is one of those where I kind of went in completely blind, like the Tallies and Rat Boys. Shout out to Daryl of CD Rabbit Hole, who actually recommended these albums. This one I kind of went at a whim because, again, it was in that indie rock pop field that I wanted to dive into. And from the looks of it, it's a power trio. You have a female-led band with two guys back there, and I was pretty surprised. Like, there was a lot of really good catchy melodies, and The vocals sounded really good to my ears, and it was a nice, lovely album all the way through. Very good stuff. And again, it's in a simple sleeve, but you do get a booklet, which funny enough comes from this direction, which is kind of interesting. So it kind of unfolds and you get this sort of format, which you see in some CDs. Kind of little image of the lead singer there. And I will say my only drawback of the packaging is that it's very delicate looking. Like I don't know if this is cheap material, because it definitely has a nice feel, but I will say this is one I want to be more careful with, because it has a very delicate texture where if you don't treat this one right, it will fall apart on you. So just keep that in mind if you do get this one. But still, really lovely album. I would recommend it. And then the last one I'll show is actually in a jewel case for once, and this is, I want to say it's a band, but looking at it now, I think it's more of a solo project, kind of like, I don't know, Panic at the Disco to an extent. But the project is called Party Nails, and this is the album Pillow Talk, which is interesting because I did some research, and this person's from California. And again, indie rock, probably might be my least favorite of the four here. I don't know, it's kind of close, but I still think there's some good songs here. The vocals are pretty cool. There were some songs I was like, not my thing. Like I think it was the song Drama, where I kind of thought was kind of not quite my taste. But the rest has some good playing on it, some good guitar, and the other types of instruments like the keyboards were pretty good. But like I said, probably not as strong as the others, but there's still some good stuff. So I'm glad I got this one here. Now there is a slight drawback, and I'm going to put an asterisk by this because this will depend on you. Where, you know, Amazon, eBay, Discogs, you know, you get an idea on when they're going to show up to your door. With Bandcamp, it's a little bit kind of whenever. You know, sometimes they'll give you like a tracker, other times you're kind of left in the dark and you're just kind of gonna have to wait. And how long it takes, again, will depend on the artist or band and what kind of, you know, postal service that they're using or what kind of shipment they're doing. Where I think these three kind of came, you know, relatively close to each other. I'd say at most at least 2 to 3 weeks, where the Party Nail CD, I will say, took less than a month to get here. So keep that in mind. If you're someone like me who is very impatient about stuff like this, then again, you might want to prepare yourself. But I will say the wait can be rewarding. But now I gotta talk about probably the coolest thing about Bandcamp, and this is something you probably won't get from eBay or Amazon or Discogs or whatever. I don't know if this is a common thing. This could be another example that it just depends on what band or artist you get it from, or what label even, because you sometimes get bonus stuff. And the bonus stuff can range from many things. Probably the most common is that you'll get stickers. And sometimes these can range from, you know, just some promotional stuff of the band. And most of the time, from what I've gotten so far, sometimes the label that the band or project's on, they'll send like stickers of their logo, stuff like that. And then you get to some pretty interesting stuff, because when I bought the Rat Boy CD, it actually came with postcards, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll ever use these, but it's still kind of a cool little option. Or sometimes you'll even get a bonus CD, and I don't remember which CD this one came with, but I did not buy this. This came with one of the albums I got, and I was just not expecting it. But this is Sweet Pill with Where the Heart Is, and this is a pretty cool album, by the way. I had little expectation going into it, but it has an indie rock, but also a little bit of an emo rock thing. So if you like emo rock, you might dig this too. But that was kind of a nice little surprise. I was definitely not expecting that. But sometimes it gets even more surprising, because again, I forgot which one this one came with, but I even got a free 45 single. So the band is called Wooing, and they even named this kind of 45 single, although maybe it's an EP, I don't know, but there's only 2 songs, so again, I'm not sure. But it's called The Clouds, and it's hard to tell, but there is a picture of a lady kind of laying in flowers. It's really hard to see because it's a very dark red and black look, but you take it out, you get the outer sleeve. The back's cover is a lot more colorful, so it's kind of nice there. Has 2 songs, Could Have Been, and side B is In Her Head, and it's another like 3-piece. You have 2 women and 1 guy in the band, and then you get the actual disc, and it's kind of cool because it's actually colored. And we take it out, it's in this really nice red color, and I look at it and you see the logo there. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that, but it is a nice little addition, and I have listened to this one, and it's kind of another one where it has that indie rock, but this one definitely has another like emo feel to it, especially In Her Head, side B. Very kind of moody sounding, but pretty cool. I might check this one out, or maybe if they have more, maybe I'll check more of the Wooing, but still a nice little sampler on other bands you can listen to. So I guess that's the idea, that they throw free stuff like this. Maybe it'll give people samplers on other things that might interest them, but don't know if it's necessary, but I think it's kind of cool. So yeah, let me know if you have encountered these from Bandcamp as well. So overall, what is my first impressions of using Bandcamp? Overall, pretty positive. I'm pretty happy with the CDs. They all came pretty nicely. None of them were damaged or anything. All came in good quality, and none of it feels too cheap. And again, some of the bonus stuff you get, I think it's pretty awesome. It's kind of a nice little something you can kind of look forward to. Like, you're kind of wondering, like, oh my god, am I going to get something as a bonus? Am I going to get a bonus CD, or am I going to get like a 45 single? Who knows? Maybe they give out full-fledged vinyl records or full albums. I don't know, but that's something to look forward to if you want to experience something like this. Obviously, pricing is going to depend. That's going to be natural because you are supporting independent musicians. So I guess if you know what you want, I think the price could be worth it. And therefore, I'd say Bandcamp is still worth checking out even in 2025. And so in the comments below, let me know what you have discovered through Bandcamp. And of course, let me know in the comments, and who knows, maybe I'll check them out myself one day. I look forward to that, but until then, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.